Hey guys, Steph here, Secret Slob, in the middle of my 21-day massive decluttering project. So today is day 14. I was like, that was awesome. I did the fingers really good. 14. And that means we are 2/3 of the way done our massive decluttering project. And I took a little break last week because I was just feeling crazy overwhelmed and I didn't want to take on even more, but I'm feeling good again. And today, day 14, we are going to hit our media stuff. Books, movies, magazines. That's kind of the big three. And I was like, oh, I'll pile them all on my table and go through them, but that is a lot of work. So I'm actually just going to go to each place where I keep those things because I do keep them pretty contained in one place, and I'm just going to sort through. And so if you have a bookshelf at home, there's no reason to pull everything off unless you love doing that, like KonMari thing, and then maybe when you put them back on, they could be alphabetical. But I don't have time for that, and so I don't want to bite off more than I can chew. I'm going to go to each place and just, run my finger through the bookshelf and kind of pick a few things I don't need. And it's a perfect day for this because I have my book club tonight. And so I'm going to take some of my books that I enjoyed but I don't need to read again. I'm going to take them to my book club, and maybe some of the girls there would like to read those books and take them out of my life forever. Bye. The other place I take my books and movies is to the thrift store. The thrift store is like my secret hack for people who are terrible at returning library books because, I'm taking tons of really good books to the thrift store all the time. So likely other people are, and there's always really good books there, and they're like 25 cents to $1. So basically like 97% off the cost at the bookstore, and you get a good book. And then say, don't get a chance to read it for a few months, no fine. You can take it back in 6 months. You could take it back in a year. You could keep it forever. So that's how I use the thrift store as my little secret library that I never have to return things to and never get fines. Because I sometimes do rack up the library fines, as many secret slobs will. And then movies. So I really want to go through my movies because I do have a pretty good collection of DVDs. And let's be honest, I don't ever look at DVDs. We have Netflix, and unless the internet goes out, there's really no other reason to have them. With the internet now and streaming and Apple Movies and Google Movies and Amazon Prime, why even have DVDs? Unless you have a car with a DVD player and you have little kids. We don't have one of those, but I would love one. Maybe you want a couple of kids movies. So I'm going to keep a couple kids movies, but probably throw away all the movies that I have. And so then the third thing is magazines. So magazines are a huge hoarder item. You probably have saved magazines like I have in the past thinking I'll look at this again. And then you never look at it again. So have a look through your magazines. I'm not saying people have to throw away everything, but if there's ones in there that are the collection's getting a little high, just, do a little purge. So join me as we do our magazines, movies, and books. Spring fling purge massive decluttering project. I'm gonna go and do mine right now, and I'll show you what I have and I'll show you what I get rid of. Okay, so this is the one little bookshelf that we kind of have in our living room, and I hate this bookshelf. I think it's so ugly. But anyways, this is where we keep our books. So I have a lot of kids' books. I already went through a ton of them when I did my kids' bedroom purge, and most of the books that we keep down here are books we read all the time. It's their favorite books. We keep them down here. We read them all the time. So I'm going to quickly go through this stuff because there's definitely some of my books here that I don't want to keep anymore. And so these are my books. Okay, so here we go. Out of that whole shelf, this is empty, and this is now empty, and there's a lot less books, and I got them organized. And this is my little pile, so it's not a ton, but there was 2 library books in there that I didn't know were in there, so I have to return those, and a couple magazines, and some kids' books that I honestly cannot stand to read anymore. I just feel like if I've read them 100 times, I don't have to read them again. So they can go to the thrift store and somebody else can read them 100 times. So anyways, I finished my little declutter of this area, and I'm moving on to another little area of movies. Here's where we keep all of our DVDs, and for a while we didn't have the internet, so we watched DVDs, and now we don't. So I just haven't watched these in over a year. That was a thrift store one. And so I'm just going to get rid of all of the ones that are for us, for adults. I know we're never going to watch them. And then I seriously pared down the amount of kids movies we have because we also don't watch those, but I'll keep a few just in case. All done and moving on. So this is the last place where we have movies, and it's VHS tapes, believe it or not, because we still have a VCR, which we use for all of our kids' movies, and I still have the movies from my childhood, and my kids love them. They're all like Disney movies and cartoon movies. So I'm gonna quickly sort through them and pick out a few that I don't think we'll probably watch. Okay, so we also have a Nintendo. It's like an old one of these kind, which I will never throw away. So keep my games there, and when my brother-in-law comes to visit, he loves it. Some awesome movies, like this was mine from when I was a kid. Anybody else love this movie? Aww. All done. So there's my little one cupboard of movies, and here's cupboard number 2. And these are like movie cases that I can't find the movies for, but they are somewhere in this room. This is like our playroom, rumpus room downstairs. So it's literally a place for our kids to run around when it is like minus a million outside, because it gets so cold here. We just needed a place for them to be able to run around. So, and I have a nice little pile here. This is all the stuff I'm getting rid of. I had a ton of duplicates and just stuff that I know we're not watching and probably won't watch, or I can't stand to watch one more time. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna add these to my pile upstairs. Here's my pile of things that I'm getting rid of. So there's a couple things to go to the thrift store, a couple books I'm going to take to my book club tonight, and then library books and a bunch of movies to get rid of. And that's it. I'm all done. This was a super duper easy day, and if you even have like 5 minutes, just run over to your bookshelf. I promise you can probably get a stack as big or bigger than mine. Like I said before, I always just get books from the thrift store and then return them to the thrift store. I often get books from the library. I am super cheap, and I almost refuse to buy a book brand new because I can always find it at the library, and especially now they have like interlibrary loans, or I just grab my books from the thrift store. So it's super rare that I will buy a book brand new. I have to like really want it or have already read it and love it. So I keep my book collection super small, as you can see, and a lot of those books were my husband's, and don't throw away other people's stuff. So I didn't even touch it. I just kind of neatly rearranged it on the shelf, and maybe one day we'll go through his books. But I know he really likes to reread his books. There are a lot of references and stuff. So he really likes his books, and I won't touch them because I'm just decluttering my own stuff and my kids' stuff. So I hope you were able to declutter your magazines and your books with me, and maybe get rid of a few movies. You know, just remember, you might really love a movie, but the chances are it is like 99% likely it's online. So unless you like need a physical copy, like we've got our VHSs downstairs, you know, really think about whether you need to keep it or not, or if you really want to watch that movie, you can probably find it on the internet now. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to keep your stuff and it means something to you, hey, keep your stuff. I'm not here to tell you what to keep. We're just kind of going through and decluttering what we don't need together. So I hope you have a wonderful day. As you can see, the sun is shining here, so we're going to get outside and go for a walk as soon as my kid gets up. Okay, have a wonderful day. Bye.